Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome back to The Dang Good Show. I'm your host, Christine Dang, but you can call me C Dang. Today, we're diving into a topic that's incredibly relevant in our current times, authentic leadership in uncertain times. Now, before you think, I'm not a leader, and consider skipping this episode, let me stop you right there. Leadership isn't about titles, corner offices, or formal authority. Leadership is about influence, and every single one of us has influence in some sphere of our lives. Whether you're guiding a team at work, raising children, volunteering in your community, or simply showing up authentically in your friendships, you are leading in some capacity. We're living in an era where trust in traditional institutions, government, corporations, media, is at historic lows. People are craving authentic, emotionally intelligent leadership at every level. They want leaders who admit when they don't have all the answers, who show genuine care for others' well-being, and who lead with integrity even when it's difficult. In our last episode, we talked about the overwhelm epidemic and finding calm in chaos. Today, we're exploring how to not just find our own center, but how to help others find theirs too. How do you lead when the path forward isn't clear? How do you build trust when everything feels uncertain? How do you inspire others while staying true to your authentic self? If you listened to our 3-part integrity series in episode 38, 39, and 40, today's conversation builds on those foundations. We explored what it means to live with integrity, navigate challenges with honesty and courage, and create positive ripple effects in the world. Today, we're taking that deeper, looking at how integrity and emotional intelligence combined to create the kind of leadership our world desperately needs. So, whether you're formally leading a team, informally influence your family dynamics, or simply wanting to show up more powerfully in your relationships, this episode is for you. Let's explore what authentic leadership looks like when uncertainty is the only constant. Let's start by acknowledging the leadership crisis we're facing. According to the 2024 Edelman Trust Barometer, trust in institutions has reached near historic lows globally. Only 47% of people trust government leaders, and trust in business leaders isn't much higher. People are hungry for leaders they can actually believe in, leaders who show up authentically rather than hiding behind scripts and personas. But what exactly is authentic leadership, and why does it matter now more than ever? Authentic leadership, as defined by researchers like Bill George and Brené Brown, is about leading from your genuine self, your values, beliefs, and experiences, rather than trying to fit into some predetermined mode of what a leader should look like. It's about being vulnerable enough to admit mistakes, curious enough to keep learning, and brave enough to do what's right even when it's difficult. The reason this matters so much right now is that we're living through unprecedented uncertainty, climate change, technological disruption, economic volatility, social change. The playbook from previous generations doesn't always apply to the challenges we're facing today. In times like these, people don't need leaders who pretend to have all the answers. They need leaders who can navigate uncertainty with wisdom, integrity, and care for others. Research from the Harvard Business School shows that authentic leaders consistently outperform traditional command and control leaders, especially during times of crisis or change. Their teams show higher engagement, greater trust, better problem-solving abilities, and more resilience in the face of challenges. But here's the key insight. These outcomes aren't because authentic leaders are necessarily more skilled or intelligent. No. It's because they create environments where others can thrive. Think about the leaders who have inspired you the most in your life. I bet they weren't the ones who had all the answers or never made mistakes. They were probably the ones who showed genuine care for your growth, who admitted when they were wrong, who listened more than they talked, and who made you feel seen and valued. That's authentic leadership in action. Now, one thing that strikes me is how much this connects to emotional intelligence, which we explored in episode 44. Authentic leadership requires all 5 components of EQ. Self-awareness to understand your strengths and limitations, self-regulation to manage your emotions under pressure, motivation that goes beyond personal gain, empathy to understand and care about others' experiences, and social skills to build genuine relationships and influence positive change. The beautiful thing about authentic leadership is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need an MBA or a fancy title. You need the willingness to know yourself, the courage to be vulnerable, and the commitment to serve something bigger than your own interests. And in the world where so many people feel disconnected and disillusioned, that kind of leadership is desperately needed at every level, in families, teams, communities, and organizations. I want to share a personal story about a time when I learned that authentic leadership often requires the courage to be vulnerable, even when everything in you wants to project strength and certainty. Now, a few years ago, maybe longer, I was leading a community project that involved coordinating between multiple organizations, volunteers, and stakeholders. On paper, I looked qualified. I had relevant experience, good organizational skills, and strong relationships with many of the people involved. But about halfway through the project, we hit some major unexpected challenges that threatened to derail everything we'd worked toward. The details aren't as important as what happened inside me during this crisis. My initial instinct was to project confidence and certainty. Even though internally I was struggling, I felt like I needed to have all the answers, to reassure everyone that everything was under control, and to maintain the image of being a competent leader who could handle everything. But the more I tried to maintain this facade, the more isolated and stressed I became. I was making decisions from a place of fear rather than wisdom. And I can sense that people were picking up on my anxiety, even though I thought I was hiding it well. The project was suffering. The relationships were getting strained, and I was heading toward burnout. Now, the turning point came during a team meeting where someone asked a direct question about one of our biggest challenges. And instead of giving another vague, overly optimistic response, I found myself saying, "You know what? I don't know. This is more complex than I anticipated, and I'm honestly feeling overwhelmed by trying to figure it out on my own." The room got quiet. And for a moment, I thought I just had undermined all my credibility as a leader. But then something beautiful happened. People started sharing their own concerns and ideas that they had been holding back. Someone offered expertise in an area where I was struggling. Others admitted they had been feeling confused too, but didn't want to add to my stress. What I had thought would be a moment of leadership failure became a breakthrough in trust and collaboration. By admitting my limitations and asking for help, I didn't lose authority. I gained authentically. The project not only succeeded, but exceeded our original goals because we shifted from one person trying to lead through expertise to a team leading through collective wisdom and shared responsibility. This experience taught me several crucial lessons about authentic leadership. First, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. It takes strength to admit when you don't have all the answers, especially when others are looking to you for direction. Second, people don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. When leaders show their humanity, it gives others permission to do the same, which creates much stronger teams and relationships. Third, authentic leadership is often more about asking good questions than providing all the answers. By shifting from, I need to know everything, to, how can we figure this out together? I transformed the dynamic from dependence on me to shared ownership and investment in our collective success. And finally, I learned that the goal of leadership isn't to be liked or to look impressive. It's to serve the people and purpose you're leading. When I stopped focusing on managing my image and started focusing on how I could best serve our shared mission, everything shifted. The irony is that by being more vulnerable and authentic, I actually became a more effective leader. Let's dive deeper into how emotional intelligence forms the foundation of authentic leadership, especially in uncertain times. Remember, emotional intelligence isn't just a nice-to-have soft skill. It's the core competency that enables everything else leadership requires. First, self-awareness in leadership. Self-aware leaders understand their own emotional patterns, triggers, strengths, and blind spots. This awareness allows them to show up more consistently and make decisions from a clear, centered place rather than reacting from unprocessed emotions or ego needs. For example, a self-aware leader might notice, I tend to become controlling when I'm anxious, or I make better decisions when I had time to process rather than responding immediately. This self-knowledge allows them to create structures and practices that support their best leadership rather than hoping they'll just naturally be perfect under pressure. Self-awareness also means understanding your values and motivations as a leader. Are you leading to serve others and create positive impact? Or are you driven by ego, control, or the need for approval? Honest self-reflection about your leadership motivations is crucial because people can sense authenticity or the lack of it. Next, we have self-regulation under pressure. Now, leadership inevitably involves pressure, conflict, and difficult decisions. Self-regulation is what allows leaders to stay calm and thoughtful rather than reactive and impulsive. It's the ability to pause between stimulus and response, to choose a reaction rather than being driven by immediate emotions. Think about leaders you've experienced who lose their temper, blame others when things go wrong, or make dramatic decisions in the heat of the moment. How did that feel to be around? Now, contrast that with leaders who can stay steady during storms. acknowledge difficult emotions without being controlled by them, and respond thoughtfully even in challenging situations. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or being robotic. Authentic leaders feel deeply. They just don't let those feelings drive their decisions unconsciously. They might say something like, I'm feeling frustrated about this situation, and I want to take some time to think through our options before we decide how to move forward. Next, we have motivation beyond self-interest. Now, authentic leaders are motivated by something bigger than personal gain, whether that's serving their team's growth, advancing a mission they believe in, or creating positive change in their community. This intrinsic motivation is crucial because leadership requires making difficult decisions that might not benefit you personally, but serve the greater good. Research consistently shows that people can sense when leaders are primarily motivated by self-interest versus service to others. Teams led by service-motivated leaders show higher engagement, trust, and performance because people feel genuinely cared for rather than used as a means to someone else's ends. Next, we have empathy and perspective taking. Remember our conversation in episode 41 about perception versus perspective? That ability to see situations from multiple viewpoints is essential for leadership. Empathetic leaders can understand how their decisions will affect different people, anticipate concerns and resistance, and communicate in ways that resonate with diverse perspectives. This doesn't mean always trying to make everyone happy. Sometimes good leadership requires making unpopular decisions, but empathetic leaders make those decisions with genuine understanding of their impact on others, and they communicate with compassion even when delivering difficult news. Next, we have social skills and influence. Now, finally, authentic leadership requires the social skills to build relationships, communicate effectively, navigate conflicts, and inspire others toward shared goals. But unlike manipulative influence, authentic influence comes from genuine care for others' well-being and development. Authentic leaders influence through inspiration rather than intimidation, through building others rather than keeping them dependent, and through creating environments where people can do their best work rather than just demanding compliance. The beautiful thing about emotional intelligence is that it's learnable and developable. You don't need to be naturally extroverted or charismatic to be an emotionally intelligent leader. You need the willingness to develop self-awareness, practice self-regulation, stay connected to your deeper motivations, cultivate empathy for others, and build your relationship skills over time. Enjoying what you're hearing? Fantastic! To make sure you're always in the loop with the latest episode, just hit that subscribe button. Your support makes all the difference. And hey, this podcast thrives because of awesome listeners like you. So a big shout out for that. And of course, I'm on Instagram. Find and follow me at Christine_Dang. Lastly, looking for more information on what we discussed today? Just cruise on over to thedangoodshow.com, click on the episode you're curious about, and voila, access to the show notes. Now, without further ado, let's jump back into the show. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually lead when you don't have all the answers? How do you provide direction when the path forward isn't clear? Here are strategies that can help you lead authentically even in uncertain times. Number 1, lead with questions, not just answers. One of the biggest shifts in authentic leadership is moving from I need to know all the answers to I need to ask the right questions. Great leaders are often great questioners. They help teams think through challenges, explore possibilities, and discover solutions together. Instead of feeling pressure to immediately know what to do, try asking questions like, what do we know for certain right now? What are we most concerned about? What would success look like in this situation? Who might have insights we're missing? What would we do if we knew we couldn't fail? This approach does several things. It engages others in problem solving rather than making them passive recipients of your decisions. It leverages collective wisdom rather than just your individual perspective. And it models intellectual humility and curiosity. Number 2, communicate transparently about uncertainty. Now, instead of pretending to have certainty you don't actually have, practice transparent communication about what you do know, what you don't know, and how you're thinking about moving forward. People appreciate honesty, and they can usually sense when leaders are being overly optimistic or hiding concerns anyway. You might say something like, here's what we know about our situation. Here's what we're still uncertain about. Here's how I think we should approach this uncertainty. What are your thoughts? This kind of communication builds trust because people feel included rather than managed. Number 3, make decisions based on values, not just data. When facing uncertainty, you often have to make decisions without complete information. In these situations, your values become your compass. What matters most to you and your team? What principles will guide your choices when the data is incomplete and contradictory? For example, if you value transparency, you'll communicate openly even when the news isn't great. If you value people's well-being, you'll prioritize their safety and development even if it costs short-term efficiency. Having clear, articulated values helps you make consistent decisions and helps others understand your reasoning. Number 4, admit mistakes quickly and learn from them. Now, authentic leaders don't pretend to be perfect and they don't try to hide or minimize mistakes. When you mess up, and you will, acknowledge it quickly. Take responsibility and focus on what you're learning and how you'll do better next time. Now, this might sound like I made a mistake in how I handled that situation. I was trying to move quickly, but I didn't consider how my decision would affect the team. I'm sorry, and here's what I'm learning. Here's how I want to approach similar situations differently in the future. This kind of response actually builds credibility rather than undermining it, because people see that you're committed to growth and honest self-reflection rather than protecting your ego. Number 5, focus on progress, not perfection. In uncertain times, perfectionism becomes paralyzing. Authentic leaders focus on making progress, taking the next right step based on current information, rather than waiting for perfect clarity or guaranteed outcomes. This means being willing to iterate, experiment, and adjust course as you learn more. It means celebrating progress and learning rather than only celebrating perfect execution. And it means helping your team stay motivated, even when the path includes setbacks and course corrections. Number 6, invest in relationships and trust. During uncertain times, relationships become even more important. People need to know you genuinely care about their well-being, that you'll support them through challenges, and that you're all in this together. This means having regular one-on-one conversations, really listening to people's concerns and ideas, showing appreciation for their contributions, and being present rather than always focused on the next task or deadline. Trust is built through consistent, caring actions over time. And it's what allows teams to navigate uncertainty together rather than fragmenting under pressure. And lastly, number 7, model the resilience you want to see. Finally, authentic leaders model emotional resilience without pretending that challenges don't affect them. They show how to process difficulties, maintain hope without toxic positivity, and keep working towards positive change even when progress feels slow. This might look like acknowledging when something is hard, while also expressing confidence in the team's ability to figure it out together. It's about being real about challenges while maintaining forward momentum and focus on what's possible. As we move toward wrapping up today's conversation, I want to focus on one of the most important aspects of authentic leadership: creating environments where others can thrive. This is what Google's research identified as psychological safety: the belief that you can speak up, make mistakes, ask questions, and be yourself without fear of negative consequences. Psychological safety isn't about being nice or avoiding conflict. It's about creating conditions where people can do their best work because they feel secure enough to take risks, share ideas, admit uncertainties, and learn from failures. And research consistently shows that teams with high psychological safety are more innovative, more effective, and more resilient. So, how to create psychological safety? Well, first, model vulnerability yourself. When leaders admit mistakes, ask for help, and show their learning process, it gives others permission to do the same. People need to see that being human, having limitations, making errors, feeling uncertain sometimes, is acceptable and even valuable. Second, respond positively to questions and concerns rather than treating them as challenges to your authority. When someone raises a concern or admits confusion, thank them for bringing it up rather than being defensive. Ask follow-up questions to understand their perspective better. This shows that you value their input and that speaking up is safe. Third, separate performance conversations from learning conversations. When someone makes a mistake, ask, "What did we learn?" before asking, "How do we fix this?" Focus on understanding what happened and how to prevent similar issues rather than assigning blame or making people feel bad about honest errors. Next, we have empowering others to lead. Now, authentic leadership isn't about being the center of attention or the source of all decisions. It's about developing leadership capacity in others and creating opportunities for people to contribute their unique strengths and perspectives. This might mean delegating meaningful responsibilities, asking people to lead projects in their area of expertise, or rotating leadership roles for different initiatives. It means helping people develop skills and confidence rather than keeping them dependent on your direction. One practice I love is what I called leadership moments. consciously creating opportunities for others to practice leadership in low-risk situations. Maybe someone facilitates a team meeting, leads a brainstorming session, or presents to a larger group. These experiences help people build confidence and skills while showing that leadership is shared rather than hoarded. The next one is supporting others' growth and development. Now, finally, authentic leaders are genuinely invested in others' growth and success, even when that means people might eventually outgrow their current roles or teams. They see developing others as one of their primary responsibilities rather than a nice extra when time permits. This shows up in regular coaching conversations, helping people identify their strengths and growth areas, connecting them with learning opportunities, and advocating for their advancements. It's about seeing your role as helping others become the best version of themselves rather than just getting tasks completed. When you focus on empowering others rather than controlling them, something beautiful happens. You create a ripple effect of authentic leadership that extends far beyond your direct influence. People who feel genuinely supported and developed are more likely to support and develop others, creating cultures of growth and empowerment rather than competition and scarcity. This connects back to what we discussed in our integrity series, the ripple effect of living authentically. When you lead with genuine care for others' well-being and development, you're not just improving immediate outcomes. You're contributing to a world where more people experience what it feels like to be truly seen, valued, and supported. And that's the kind of leadership legacy that really matters. As we wrap up today's conversation about authentic leadership in uncertain times, I want to leave with you this thought. The world doesn't need more perfect leaders. It needs more authentic ones. People who have the courage to lead from their genuine selves while genuinely caring about others' well-being and growth. Authentic leadership isn't about having all the answers or never making mistakes. It's about showing up honestly, leading with integrity, and creating environments where others can thrive. It's about using your influence, whatever sphere that might be, to make things better for the people around you. Whether you're leading a team at work, guiding your family, volunteering in your community, or simply showing up more authentically in your friendships, you have opportunities to practice authentic leadership every day. The question isn't about whether you're qualified to lead. It's whether you're willing to lead from your heart while developing the skills to do it effectively. As we've discussed throughout this episode, authentic leadership is deeply connected to emotional intelligence, knowing yourself, managing your emotions, staying motivated by service to others, empathizing with different perspectives, and building genuine relationships. These aren't innate talents that some people have and others don't. They're skills we can all develop with intention and practice. Next episode, we'll be celebrating our 50th episode milestone. I am so grateful you've been on this journey with me, and I can't wait to share some reflections on what we've learned together and where we're heading next. For more on the foundations of authentic leadership, check out our integrity series in episode 38, 39, and 40, or episode 44, where we explored emotional intelligence in the age of automation. I'd love to hear your own leadership experiences, formal or informal. How are you using your influence to create positive change? What challenges are you facing as you try to lead more authentically? Share your thoughts with me on Instagram at Christine_Dang or visit c-dang.com. Thank you so much for joining me on The Dang Good Show. Remember, the world needs your authentic leadership exactly as you are, exactly where you are. Until next time, lead with your heart, stay true to your values, and as always, stay dang good. Much love, C-Dang signing out. Thank you for joining us on The Dang Good Show. Remember to swing by our website, thedangoodshow.com, where you can easily subscribe on platforms like Apple, Google, and Spotify to keep up with our latest episodes. Loved what you heard today? A thumbs up and a positive review on your favorite listening platform would be incredibly appreciated. And if our show struck a chord with you, sharing it with just one friend can help our community grow and thrive. Thanks once more for lending your ears to me on The Dang Good Show. Until we meet again, take care and goodbye.